What I drink daily at 68 to flush sugar out of my blood and lower my A1C. You wouldn't believe it, but the drink I take every day looks more like something you'd find in your grandma's garden than in a pharmacy. It's a simple tea, warm, fragrant, and packed with everyday herbs. Yet, it quietly helps flush sugar out of my blood and brought my A1C from the danger zone to a number my doctor actually smiled at. I ain't no doctor, but after years of tired afternoons and sugar cravings that hit like a freight train, this little habit changed how I feel after every meal. God bless the day I stumbled upon this. Most folks think you gotta take a shelf full of pills or chase down expensive health fads to get your blood sugar down. But sometimes the answers are older than we are and taste a whole lot better. I remember when I used to feel wiped out after a simple lunch. My vision would get a little blurry, and I'd start looking for something sweet, even though I knew I shouldn't. Sound familiar? That was my body waving a big red flag, and I almost missed it. Diabetes, prediabetes, and insulin resistance don't always knock on the door with pain or drama. They creep in silently. One day it's just a little extra thirst. Then it's tingling in your feet. But here's the good news. It's never too late to make a gentle but powerful change. This tea became part of my daily walk toward better health. 1 cup at a time, along with simple habits, like walking after meals and switching up the order I eat my food. I've seen real changes. And I'm not the only one. My neighbor Joe, 72, started drinking it before dinner. After a few weeks, his sugar cravings backed off, and he said, I don't feel like I need a nap after every meal anymore. That's something. So today, I want to share with you exactly what goes into this tea, why it works, and how you can make it part of your life too. It won't replace your doctor or your meds, but might just help your body do what it's meant to do. If you find this helpful, give it a like and share with someone you care about. Number 7, rosemary. The smell of rosemary always takes me back to my mama's kitchen. She kept a sprig by the window, and any time when I got the sniffles or a bellyache, she'd brew it into a tea faster than you could say amen. Back then, I didn't know this fragrant little herb could help lower blood sugar. But now, I thank the Lord I paid attention. Turns out, rosemary isn't just for seasoning chicken. It's one of the most powerful plants when it comes to helping the body respond better to insulin. What makes rosemary special is how it calms the storm inside. You know, that hidden inflammation that slowly chips away at our energy, our memory, our joints? Rosemary has compounds, carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid, that fight that fire naturally. Scientists now know those same compounds help the cells in our body hear insulin better, which means less sugar floating around in your blood, causing trouble. These days, I drop a fresh rosemary sprig into my tea kettle each morning. It's such a small act, but it's part of my rhythm now, like brushing my teeth or saying grace. Some folks use the dried kind, and that works too. But if you can get it fresh, the oils are stronger and the smell, well, it just feels like home. I take a deep breath when it steeps, and it brings a kind of peace that's hard to put into words. What surprised me the most was how it helped with my blood pressure too. I used to get those tight, pulsing headaches in the afternoon, especially when I skipped meals or had something too salty. Since adding rosemary to my routine, I've noticed fewer of those spells. Maybe it's the tea, maybe it's God's grace, maybe both. But I ain't arguing with results. I'll tell you this much. If rosemary were a person, I'd shake its hand and say thank you. It's done more for me than some of those pricey supplements gathering dust in my cabinet. And to think it was growing wild behind the church all these years. Number 6, fennel. Funny thing, when I first heard the word fennel, I thought it was some kind of fancy soap. Never crossed my mind it was a seed folks used for thousands of years to calm the belly and sweeten the breath. But one day, I was chatting with an old Italian fella at church potluck, and he told me his mama used to give him fennel tea after big meals. Takes the edge off and keeps the sugar where it belongs, he said. That got me curious. Turns out, fennel is a quiet helper for folks like us. It doesn't shout for attention like cinnamon or turmeric, but it works gently, helping our digestion, so our body can actually use the food we eat instead of turning it into a sugar spike. I read that fennel helps calm the nervous system too, which might explain why I feel less edgy when I sip this tea after lunch. Less stress, less sugar cravings. That's a win in my book. I started adding a teaspoon of fennel seeds to my tea in the afternoon. It gives a mild licorice flavor, nothing too strong, just enough to feel warm and clean. Some folks like to chew on the seeds after meals, but I prefer it steeped. And if you've ever felt bloated, especially after bread or pasta, this little seed is like a kind hand on the stomach. Steady and comforting. There's something almost spiritual about it. To be honest, like God gave us these tiny seeds to remind us that healing doesn't have to be loud. Fennel won't give you fireworks, but after a few weeks, you'll notice. Fewer sugar dips, a calmer mood, and maybe that sweet tooth won't shout so loud after dinner. That's what happened to me. Sometimes I laugh thinking how long I ignored things like fennel. I had all these answers sitting in my spice drawer, while I ran around looking for the next big fix. Now I just thank the Lord for second chances, and a seed that helps keep my blood sugar steady without a fuss. Number 5, ginger. If rosemary is a quiet guardian of this tea, ginger is a fiery sheriff keeping things in line. I remember first time I added a chunk of fresh ginger to the pot. It hit my nose like a warm snap in the winter. Sharp, spicy, and alive. That first sip gave me a gentle burn down the throat, and I thought, now that's working. What I didn't expect was how quickly my body felt lighter. Not jittery like coffee, just cleaner, more awake. Ginger has this way of heating up the inside just enough to get your blood moving. I heard folks say it's thermogenic, but all I know is, after adding it to my tea, I stopped getting that heavy, sluggish feeling after breakfast. Turns out, ginger helps the body respond better to insulin, meaning the sugar you eat actually goes where it should instead of floating around making trouble. And when your body's not fighting sugar all the time, you feel the difference in your joints, in your energy, even in your focus. Now, I keep a small jar of ginger in the fridge at all times. Just cut off a coin-sized piece, peel it, and toss it in the water with the rosemary. You can even chew a little piece raw if you're feeling brave. My granddaughter tried it once and ran for a glass of milk. Ha! But for me, the warmth it brings to the tea is part of the healing. It reminds me that not all medicine has to taste like cardboard. What amazes me most is how something so spicy can also soothe inflammation. I used to think my stiff knees were just age catching up, but after a few weeks of this tea, I noticed I could walk a little further without needing to sit down. Maybe it's not magic, but it sure feels like a blessing. Even my hands don't swell like they used to when the weather turns. There's power in ginger, no doubt about it. Not flashy or trendy, just steady and strong, kind of like the folks I grew up with. I thank God for this root, and for the way it quietly reminds me that healing often starts with warmth, patience, and a little kick when you need it. Number 4, lemon optional. The first time I added lemon to this tea, it wasn't for health. It was just because I liked the smell. Fresh, bright, like morning sunshine in a cup. But after a few weeks, I noticed something curious. I wasn't crashing after meals like before. I read up on it, and wouldn't you know, lemon actually helps slow down how fast sugar hits your bloodstream. Imagine that, a little squeeze of citrus doing the job of a whole bottle of supplements. One of my habits now is to slice half a lemon and squeeze it into my mug after the tea's done steeping. I wait till it cools just a bit. Don't want to kill off the vitamin C with boiling water. That vitamin C, by the way, doesn't just fight colds. It helps your body process glucose more gently and even supports your adrenal glands, which take a beating when your sugar's too high too often. It's like lemon tells your body, take it easy, no rush. I don't always add it, especially if my stomach's feeling off or if I've had a bit of reflux. Some folks are more sensitive, and that's okay. But when I do, it makes the tea feel more complete, almost like a blessing at the end. My wife says it gives the drink a clean finish, like a fine recipe passed down to the family. And I'd say she's right. There's something humbling about realizing that what God put in a simple fruit can be part of keeping us strong. Not in a flashy way, but in those quiet, daily ways that build up over time. Kind of like the way my father taught me to work. Slow, steady, consistent. That's how lemon works too, if you ask me. So while lemon might be optional in this recipe, for me it's a little extra grace in the cup. Some days I skip it. Other days, I add a little zest just for fun. Either way, just knowing it's there when I need it feels like having an old friend nearby. Number 3, how to prepare the tea. Every morning, right after I read my devotional and before I check the mail, I put the kettle on. It's become a quiet little ritual. My time to take care of myself without fuss. The recipe's simple, but it feels like you're doing something special. I start with 500 milliliters of clean water. That's about 2 good mugs worth. And let it come to a gentle boil while I rinse off my herbs. Once the water's bubbling, I drop in 1 sprig of fresh rosemary and a thumb-sized piece of ginger, peeled. I let that roll for 5 minutes. Not too long, just enough to pull out the good stuff. The smell starts to fill the kitchen, and it takes me right back to Sunday dinners and garden days. Then I turn off the heat, toss in a teaspoon of fennel seeds, and cover the pot. That's where the magic happens. 5 quiet minutes of steeping, just enough time to say a prayer or stretch your legs. After that, I strain it into my mug, nice and warm. If I'm in the mood, I'll squeeze in half a lemon and stir gently. I drink it slowly, no rush. This isn't a shot of espresso. It's more like a hug in a cup. I take mine about 20 or 30 minutes before meals, especially lunch or dinner. That's when I used to feel the most tired or heavy after eating. And this tea helps smooth those bumps out. Sometimes I make a bigger batch and store it in a glass jar in the fridge. Just warm it up gently when you're ready. Don't boil it again. And always use the freshest ingredients you can find. I tried it once with old dried herbs from the back of the pantry. Let's just say it didn't feel the same. The closer to the earth, the better it works. This tea's not a miracle in a mug, but it is a faithful companion. It won't cure you overnight, but it supports your body in the small ways that matter. And when you combine it with the right habits, like walking after meals or slowing down your bites, it becomes part of something bigger, a daily act of care, a whisper to your body that says, I'm on your side. Hug in a cup. I take mine about 20 or 30 minutes before meals, especially lunch or dinner. That's when I used to feel the most tired or heavy after eating. And this tea helps smooth those bumps out. Sometimes I make a bigger batch and store it in a glass jar in the fridge. Just warm it up gently when you're ready. Don't boil it again. And always use the freshest ingredients you can find. I tried it once with old dried herbs from the back of the pantry. Let's just say it didn't feel the same. The closer to the earth, the better it works. This tea's not a miracle in a mug, but it is a faithful companion. It won't cure you overnight, but it supports your body in the small ways that matter. And when you combine it with the right habits, like walking after meals or slowing down your bites, it becomes part of something bigger, a daily act of care, a whisper to your body that says, I'm on your side. Number 2, how to use it and what to expect. I always say, don't rush a good thing. The first week I started drinking this tea, I didn't expect much. Just wanted to try something that felt natural. But by the 3rd or 4th day, I noticed I wasn't dragging after meals like usual. I'd drink half a cup of this tea, and instead of needing a nap, I could actually get up and finish folding the laundry. It was like the fog lifted just a bit. At first, I started slow, just half a cup once a day, usually before dinner. My body's not as fast to adapt as it used to be, so I like to ease into things. After a few days, I moved up to a full cup twice a day. Some folks go up to 3, but I like to keep it simple. And let me tell you, when you pair it with little changes, like walking 10 minutes after meals or starting your plate with veggies first, your body begins to say, thank you in its own quiet way. Most of us want results fast, but this kind of healing takes time. I didn't see big changes in my A1C until week 4 or 5, but I did notice smaller things early on. Less sugar craving in the evening, steadier energy, and fewer dizzy spells when I stood up too quick. It's like the body knows when it's being cared for, and it starts cooperating again. Now, I use the tea for about 3 months at a time, then take a little break. 2 or 3 weeks to let the body reset. Just like tending a garden, there's a season for everything. I learned the hard way that pushing too much, even with natural things, can throw things out of balance. So I listen in, take notes in my little health journal, and talk with my doctor when something feels off. Ain't it something how a simple drink can become part of your life like this? Not as a quick fix, but as a partner in your journey. These little moments of care. When you boil the water, breathe in the herbs, sip slowly, add up, and one day you wake up and realize your body feels steadier, your thoughts clearer, and you've made a kind of peace with your blood sugar, one warm cup at a time. Number 1, when to avoid this tea. Now, friend, I've always believed that nature gives us wonderful tools, but even good things need a little caution. This tea may be gentle and made from familiar herbs, but it's not for everyone. Before I took my first sip, I sat down with my doctor, just to be sure. That little chat saved me a lot of guesswork, and I recommend the same for you, especially if you're on medications or have certain conditions. Take rosemary, for example. It's a blessing in many ways, but if you have high blood pressure and take meds for it, large amounts might stir the pot. I only use 1 sprig per batch, and that's been fine for me. But don't go tossing in a whole bouquet thinking more is better. When it comes to herbs, less can be more. I say, respect the plant, and your body will thank you. Then there's fennel. Most folks don't realize it's part of the carrot family. If you've ever had a reaction to celery or parsley, you might want to skip the fennel altogether. Allergies don't always show up loud. They can sneak in as rashes or tummy trouble. I knew a lady from church who thought she had the flu, but turns out it was just her body saying no thanks to fennel. Better safe than sorry. Ginger's a powerhouse, no doubt, but it can thin the blood a little. If you're on blood thinners or about to have surgery, best to take a pause or talk to your doctor first. I had a cousin on warfarin who couldn't use ginger at all. It threw off her tests. We joked that her body was too spicy for spicy roots. Humor helps, but so does wisdom. Even lemon has its quirks. I love the fresh kick it gives the tea, but too much of it gave me heartburn one week. And my dentist warned me not to sip lemony drinks all day. Can wear down the enamel on your teeth. So I keep it light and rinse with water afterward. Just a little caution goes a long way. Point is, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's perfect for everyone. Take your time. Listen to your body. Talk to someone who knows your health history. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. And as we age, wisdom is the one thing we ought to have plenty of. There was a time when I thought managing my blood sugar meant living in fear. I'd stare at the numbers on the meter like they were a verdict, and too often they were higher than I wanted to admit. But over the years, I've learned something beautiful. Small, steady changes can turn the tide. 1 warm cup of tea, a 10-minute walk, swapping the order of my dinner plate. These aren't grand gestures, but they carry weight. This tea has become part of a bigger rhythm in my life. Not a miracle, not a cure, but a companion on the journey. It helps my body handle sugar more kindly, quiets the cravings that used to shout at me after every meal, and gives me something to look forward to in the quiet hours of the day. When I pair it with sleep, water, and a bit of movement, things just work better. My numbers are steadier, and I feel more in control, more me, and more than that, I feel grateful. Grateful to God for giving us herbs that grow in the soil and serve a purpose beyond flavor. Grateful for the wisdom that comes with age, even if it took me a while to get here. Grateful for each day where I feel clear-headed, steady on my feet, and strong enough to pick up my grandkids or take a walk without worry. Of course, I always say this tea isn't a substitute for medical advice. If you got diabetes, prediabetes, or concerns about your blood sugar, talk to your doctor before starting anything new, even if it comes from your own garden. Natural doesn't mean harmless, and your health story is your own. Respect it, protect it, but don't lose hope. Whether you're 58 or 88, it's never too late to feel better, think clearer, and treat your body with the care it's been asking for. Maybe it starts with a kettle, a few sprigs of rosemary, and a quiet moment to say, Lord, help me care for this body you gave me. 1 sip at a time. Take care of yourselves, and God bless y'all.